I'm a real live living person who does astrology as my job. I don't respond to emails right away because I'm a person and I have a business. I'm a person with a business. So
Where do you think, or where in your chart, maybe, I don't know, do you think this audacity comes from? Because certainly I would love to have more audacity. I mean, every chart is different, but do you think there is like a special signature for audacity, or is just a personality trait you develop because of your family background or your mama or something like that?
that's a good question. That could be a whole talk that somebody the astrology of audacity. So whoever's going to do that talk, I can't wait to see what it is. Um, I'm a Virgo rising. I have a Capricorn south node, and I'm a Taurus sun high in the sky. And
Mhm.
some of that steadiness, I do think breeds an audacity in me where I'm like, I'm just doing what I'm doing. And if it's steady, right? Like if I have some structural proof behind it, I really don't like people give me a lot of crap about stuff. I'm like,
You are in all of these conferences, you are in all of these channels besides yours. How do you manage Stormie Grace, the YouTuber, the businesswoman, the doctor, the mom, the partner? What's your secret?
oh my gosh, I wish I had a secret. Well, first, I ran it into the ground. First, I completely burned out trying to do too much, right? I just was too much, too many places.
Mhm.
I just did not do it in a way that was going to be sustainable. But that is where I was like, okay, in terms of a business in particular, I've got to get some structure around this. And what is it, right? Like, what is this business? How does it function? How does it flow?
What part of your own chart, let's say, has been hardest for you to accept and why?
For a while, I was not, it was very painful. And I was trying to force myself to be in a
Right.
way that I don't seem to do well trying to deliver that.
So now that we are into Virgo season and we have the eclipse season coming up, and you're a Virgo rising, can you tell us more how these eclipses have played for you and what are your expectations, if you want to call it like that?
Yeah, sure. Well, so first, thinking about the fact I have a 3-degree Virgo rising, so it's very early. So, one of the first things I was thinking about, just in general, watching the fact that the nodal story this year was going to be coming with that Virgo South node, is that I was prepared for. I was like, there's something about literally how I show up in public and the way that I regard myself that needs to go. I've built a life and a brand and a business and a conception even within my own family unit, all of these places I've shown up, it's been a certain way. And now something about that level of perfection, precision, performance, any of those words needs to slide away because they're not necessary anymore. And then now making room to have them eclipsed, it's like,
What is one fear or limiting belief you'd have to overcome as an astrologer or YouTuber or business person?
just one. Yeah.
So you just basically you woke up like 4 hours ago, or
Yeah, I usually get up between like 4:45 and 5 o'clock in the morning and start getting my day going. And then, like I like it and I like the vibe of the day that early in the morning. But it's really hard for me in the afternoon. Like I'm so grateful to live in Spain where we have siesta because I'm like, yes, I have to go lay down. Like I can't do people right now. I need to just shut it
yeah.
off.
So
Shut it.
what do you do to wake up? You have your coffee. Is it important for you to have a coffee?
Yeah, well, I feel like I just always can have a coffee, right? Whether it's important or not. I just feel like I just need to have a coffee. I have a coffee for everything. I'm like, anyways, but I start my day and I usually get up and I will meditate and then I like go to the gym and get that out of the way first.
Uh-huh.
And then when I come home, if I'm traveling, I have a coffee and I have coffee with my husband. Like we go on FaceTime if I'm traveling.
Ah.
And then I do the rest of the day until the until noon, and then I'm like, ugh, I have to go have a nap.
And then a break. Okay, so
Here we go.
welcome back to another Backstage Astrology episode. My name is Mayra, and today I'm honored to be here with Dr. Stormie Grace. I'm such a fan. Stormie, how are you today?
Oh, I'm so good. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for sharing this with us. And usually I ask the astrologers to present themselves. How would you like people to know you really?
I think first of all that I'm like a person, a real live living person who does astrology as my job and my career, and I'm grateful to do something that I love. But behind that is a real person with a family and experiences, and I have my own chart that's playing out while I'm also delivering astrology. And that's something sometimes I think people miss, especially in today's world
Yeah.
where so much is digital and we want fast response and you can just, you know what I mean? And I'm like, no, I don't respond to emails right away because I'm a person and I have a business. I'm a person with a business. So I think if that's like, if honestly, anything I could say to people is that like our practitioners, our doctors, our astrologers, they're people first, and to remember that.
That's beautiful. And I'm so glad you're actually mentioning that because you're not the first one in this series of interviews I've done with other astrologers. There is this message always to remember they are also people going through their own charts, through their own processes. So in that regard, can you share with us what are your big three, like your sun, moon, and rising? I bet people would love to know that.
Yeah, I'm a Taurus sun in the ninth house, which is why I just love airports. I'm all like I make so many connections and I build things in airports. Like I love it. I wrote four books in an airport and I built a school in an airport.
What?
So very ninth house sun. I'm a Virgo rising and I have a moon in Libra that is tucked into a stellium of Mars, Moon, Saturn, and Pluto in my second house.
Wow. Can you elaborate more about that Libra Stellium? I bet there are some Libra people here would like to know how a real person, an astrologer especially, navigates a Libra Stellium in the second house.
Oh yeah. Well, first, the thing that I noticed about it and how I was living my life was actually that my Saturn and my Pluto are retrograde. And so for me, as an evolutionary and humanistic astrologer, I was like, okay, there's something about how I earn money and I allow money to flow to me and the way that I extract value in the world that retrograde Libra placements have done a very good job at trying to do it by themselves. They're like, I'll just be a lone wolf. I'll go do it by myself. And I'm like, I need to learn this time how to have partnership with money and how to have partnership with the people that I'm in contact with and like form true partnership with whatever's happening through the value of the second house. And that's the way that it has genuinely played out for me. And now I run around the internet teaching people about money, and I get them to say the word money, and I get them to say the word value and how to come into partnership, conscious partnership with it. So it's worked, in that way brilliantly for me. I've also made a ton of mistakes with that, where I'm like, I'll do it myself. And that's not been great ever. Not once.
But what are those mistakes you consider to be mistakes? Because maybe for other people like us, they're not mistakes. So what would you
Sure.
consider like those mistakes were? Because I also know, maybe I should have mentioned this, but Virgo risings can be very strict with themselves.
Oh, yeah.
I have a Virgo moon, so I need to ask you, why do you why do you think, those were like mistakes?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I think they were just mistakes, honestly, based on the outcome of the experience, right? Like how it happened going through. And mostly, let me just be very specific. One of them, and I use it in my marketing, is this idea of no, I'll just do it myself. I'll just figure it out myself. I'll just go myself, right? With the Libra placement, there is a call to partner because I can only go so far on my own. I need to have the mirror and I need to have the container of another entity to travel with, but it needs to be in true partnership, right? And so every time I would say, I'll just do it, I'll just figure it out myself, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. Oh my gosh, like the outcome was always an explosion. I never made more money. I never felt more valuable. I never, like, I could not get to the level of genuine value. And so for me, those were just mistakes based on the outcome, but they were not mistakes based on the fact that I learned what seems to not work for me, right?
Mhm.
Like, and that is really important. Today, I can also embrace the duality of what that air energy has to offer, which is both sides of the coin. The mistake, but also what did I learn from the mistake? So, in that way, it's served me very well. And it does make my Virgo rising happy to be learning and perfecting something, you know?
Right, right. So now that we are into Virgo season and we have the eclipse season coming up, and you're a Virgo rising, can you tell us more how these eclipses have played for you and what are your expectations, if you want to call it like that?
Yeah, sure. Well, so first, thinking about the fact I have a 3-degree Virgo rising, so it's very early.
Oh, I
So
have the
sometimes,
moon there.
oh, do you? Okay, perfect. So we're like a match. So, one of the first things I was thinking about, just in general, watching the fact that the nodal story this year was going to be coming with that Virgo South node, is that I was prepared for, I was like, there's something about literally how I show up in public and the way that I regard myself that needs to go. It needs to go. Things around my identity, these things were going to need to go. So, in the best way that humans can be ready for that, I was making space for it. And so, this has been a year where I've traveled very lightly with myself and with a lot more grace than I think I've ever maybe even needed to have with myself, because I was like, I've built a life and a brand and a business and a conception, even within my own family unit, all of these places I've shown up, it's been a certain way. And now something about that level of perfection, precision, performance, any of those words needs to slide away because they're not necessary anymore. So to start there, thinking about how that story was pulling those things away and then now making room to have them eclipsed, it's like at this point, many of the things that needed to go have gone, and I can begin to rebuild with the eclipsing energy. And it's going to have to be nice and slow, but it is a lot more honest. It's a lot more authentic as well. And one of the things I can share is that in my business in general, before I was an astrologer, and that's what I did. And over the last little bit, I was like, actually, where I have my heart is also helping astrologers and creative entrepreneurs build their businesses, right? And come into the space of second house stellium, learning how to say the word money without being afraid of it and tearing those things down, getting rid of what the old story around that means. But it also meant I had to find a way to bridge my business. And it was a mess for a little bit. It was like, ugh, I don't, is it this? Is it this? And as a
Mhm.
Virgo rising, that's very frustrating. I'm like, no, I need a plan.
But you
And
also have
now,
the Taurus sun. Sorry, yeah, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
I do, right? So it's like this, it's been very grounded, messy to me, fascinating to other people, right? But so as the eclipses come, now I'm like, the structures in the background and the story and the complete brand and the complete what am I really here to provide at this point of the journey has come together nicely. And I'm going to get to continue to watch it unfold. But it comes with eclipsing, right? It
Mhm.
comes with that piece has to go. A piece has to go so that something else can live. So it's been, yeah, a ride, but I've been prepared. That's what I do like about astrology is while I can't control the outcome or know all of these things, I can say, here's what I know,
Right.
do the best I can, and then I let the universe do the rest of the heavy lifting. That's it.
Amazing. Such a good advice for everyone or anyone who has some planet or something in Virgo, so this upcoming season. So make room for the new and just, let it flow because I know we don't have control here, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, and it's like I always want to talk about it, especially when people have like a sun that is above the horizon, right? A daytime sun in Virgo, or they have a Virgo rising, is like this place of we really want to look good. It's at eclipse time, that's going to come undone, and you're going to have to say the thing that is true. You're going to have to wear the hairstyle that is true, like whatever it is, it gets messy, and the truth is that's quite uncomfortable for a Virgo who wants to just kind of be nicely, tightly packaged. But it's like, hold on, the truth of your precision and where you really find your discernment is going to actually be in the mess a little bit. And that's true for me.
Amazing. So, what is one practical tip you could give us for this upcoming Pisces eclipse, Pisces Virgo eclipses? Just I know you're very practical, so that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, well, very practically to work with them, I think the most practical thing to do is to start where it's easy, right? And it's typically more easy for us in the South Node side because we know it. Even if that's not where your nodal axis is, to the South Node side, we become very comfortable in some kind of behavior. So to start there in the Virgo area of your chart, and what are these qualities where there's been a lot of micromanaging, it's needed to be overly perfect. There has been, the plan has to go like this, right? Those are basic things which sound very cookie cutter from the internet, but most of the time, in a daily way, if we look at where those questions are honestly deeply playing out in our lives, we can see the elements of over control that have been driving us and have not actually made that area of our lives a devotion to the service of that area of our chart, right? So
Wow.
starting where it's hard or where it's easy allows us to see where we have the room to grow to the Pisces side, which is faith and trust. And I've got to believe that the universe has got me seated in its palm with perfection already laid out for me, but I have to surrender the control to be able to let that happen. And from there, I see the sweet spot in any opposition in the middle where they integrate, which is I do the footwork and then I let the plan work itself out, right? This is where I say I do the footwork, I let the universe do the heavy lifting. And that's a brilliant practical integration. Because if I find out, I've been just micromanaging my image, we'll use my chart, right? And it's needed to be perfect, it's needed to look a certain way. But I need to go to the Pisces side, which is I need to trust a little more that if I say the thing that is darker or more scary or more creative or whatever is not so managed, that's actually going to be the integration of both of them, especially if I put a little plan around it, which has been fun. I've planned a lot more content that is me dancing around. I've been a dancer since I was 3 years old. I'm a tap dancer. Most people don't know that. And so I've been able to make a little plan with content that's looser, that's easier, right? But I made a plan for it and then I dance in the video. And that is a practical integration and the relief that it's brought, right? So as we eclipse, accept the help. Accept the help. Look at the practicals and then accept the help.
Beautiful. Stormy, can you tell us more? Who were you before you were Dr. Stormy Grace and Stormy Grace, the astrologer? What was going on in your life before?
Oh yeah, I can. I was around for all of it. It turns out. Yeah, I was, truthfully, I realized that I was probably an astrologer when I was 7 at my Saturn square. But it was not a like, oh, I'm an astrologer, I need to get all the books. And yet that was not my experience. I went to a metaphysical fair with my mother because she realized that I was seeing spirit and seeing the world differently than the rest of my family. So she took me there. And I watched this woman do a chart and I realized I was doing it with her. Like it was something I had done over and over and over again in my life. I wasn't confused. I wasn't anything about it. So that's important for me to say because it wasn't like I came running for astrology because I'm like, I have to have this thing. I love it. I never have been afraid to be without astrology. Never. I was like, whatever, I'll do something with it eventually. It's just in there. And that is really important for me to say out loud because it gave me such freedom to just live. And oh my gosh, I was like, oh, okay, I know I have a knowing that I'm supposed to be a doctor, right? So I tried to do traditional things. I was like, okay, I'll get ready for medical school. Listen, I don't want to touch people's bodily fluids. I don't want to be doing any of that. So what I was doing, like when I was in school from the time I was little, was talking. I was always talking, right? I got excessive talking all the way through college. Like I had a college professor be like, "You just talk so much. Honey, you just talk so much." And I never caught it. And so the talking led me into, I was in about sixth grade, and they said, "We want to put you in Spanish. We want to put you in French. We want to put you," right? I kept landing in the language spaces because they were like, "You just keep talking, so we might as well teach you to speak." And I loved it. I loved it. So all the way through, that's what was happening. And I didn't realize that was happening. I was still thinking, oh, I should go be, a medical doctor. Oh my gosh. So it's important to say that too, because my Mercury's in Gemini in the 10th house,
Oh. Mm-hmm.
right? And I was like, I should be a medical doctor. So, I mean, in short, I was out there being very delusional, which is fine. But I was doing traditional academic education and things like that because I thought that that was the path. But I always had language and music and movement in my life. I never
Mm.
once picked up the anatomy of the body book to just know it, right? And I had children. And when I started having children, I brought language in. I started teaching them sign language and learning together with them so that we could instantly begin communication. We had Spanish in our home. My family's German. We had German, right? Just all these things. Life was just going on and happening, and I was missing it, girl. I was missing the message. And then one day, when I was really convinced I have got to get my life together and go take this medical training, I called into a radio show and I did answered a question. Immediately after the show, they said, "Would you like a job? Do you want a job?"
What?
And it started a decade career in radio. I had never studied for radio. I didn't anything, right? And so I spent 10 years in radio before I became Stormie Grace.
No way.
Yeah. Isn't that it's crazy. I mean, I just was around the gift of my chart and my being and what I've always had to offer. And I really didn't have any idea about it. I thought it was just personality or something else. I couldn't see it for what would actually help me down the road.
So would you say that you were like how do you say this? Like a communicator, like it's in your blood. Did you realize that with all these experiences?
Eventually, eventually I did. I mostly, honestly, I'm telling you, and I see it with people all the time, we just bypass it. We bypass the thing that we're doing the most easily, the most naturally. People are complimenting or complaining about it. I got fired from the library because they're like, actually, people come here to like be quiet. And I was like, this is not for me. Um, and so I just was missing it. And then in radio, when I fell into radio, I fell in love. Like, I really think that in radio, I found the love of my life because I found a place that, first of all, I got to just talk, right? I got to just talk, and it was the
Yeah, for
best
a living, basically. Yeah.
for a living. These people wanted to pay me to talk, and they were like, and this is the thing, Mercury and Gemini. I didn't actually care what I was talking about. I'm like, give it to me. I will talk it and break it down and make it make sense. So they would hand me a script that was a full page, and they're like, we need you to make that happen in 60 seconds. Figure it out. That was wildly wonderful to me. To someone else, that would be stressful. I loved it. And then I got to the point in radio where the engineers taught me we had this big wall and it's all gadgets and lights and plugs. And I was in love, but I didn't understand that it was my Mercury just being so fully engaged and in love with what I was doing, right? I had no idea. And I fell in love. I just fell in love there. And I also got my heart broken because there's in radio there's specific shows and things like that and time slots. And I could never get them to give me like this one time slot. And I was like, I don't understand why I'm not getting it. And I was heartbroken, heartbroken, right? And I didn't realize until I became Stormie Grace that I should have never had those time slots because that's not where the end of my journey was going to be. I was in a training camp for
Uh-huh.
a decade to learn to use my words in ways that wasn't just making noise. Because a lot of the times with a strong Mercury, those people are happy to just talk to make noise, right? And
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
say that
mm-hmm.
as a fellow of the tribe. But I got
Yeah.
to be precise. I got to
Mm-hmm.
deliver what needed to be delivered. And what happened is that I became Stormie Grace and I started to deliver messages online. And I had been so perfectly trained in radio that I slid right into it naturally on YouTube. I mean,
What a better training than that in a way.
no, I
Because
mean, and it's just so funny. It's what makes me laugh where I say, yeah, this journey has been well guided, even when I wasn't paying attention or I didn't understand, what was going on. But it got me right where I am. And where it has led today is in my school. I focus specifically on my trademarked framework, which is astrofluency. I get
mm-hmm.
you to speak, read, and write the language of astrology. Right? That's it. I just want you to speak. I want you to start talking. And it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and it is not. I mean, it is not easy. Certainly for just to stand in the camera and talk like to this little point over there. People don't know this, but I mean, it's a struggle. I mean, personally, I felt like dumb. Like, what am I
Uh-huh.
doing talking to this little thing? And God knows who is on the other side, if they're gonna listen or not. It requires training, and I would say a lot of like self-confidence that I'm sure you developed over those radio years, maybe, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. With everything, I think even if you're naturally gifted at whatever it is, there is a confidence that comes with it. But there's also a little bit of like audacity that comes with something that you're naturally good at, where I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna talk. And so I kind of, you know what I mean? It was like a little bit of like delusion and audacity sometimes show up as well, but then you get to hone it a little bit.
So, Stormy, when did you first realize that astrology would play a central role in your life?
Definitely at that metaphysical fair, I knew it. I knew it. I was like, oh, okay, but it's like not time yet, you know? And so I didn't worry about it. And at my Saturn return, I was 30 years old, and this is like I always get like really emotional talking about it because it was an experience. I loved this radio station that I worked at. And between 28 and 29, right in there, something had started to shift and I couldn't, like, it wasn't working. Something wasn't working in this environment. And what happened to me was very Saturnian. I would always be at work and a lot of colors and my heels and my mouth and all the things. And I started coming to this place that I loved more than anything, wearing black. And I would be wearing like these black tennis shoes or these black slip-ons, and I wore all black for like almost a year and a half. And it was such a struggle to get in there. It got very Saturnian, like things were getting heavy, and I didn't understand that I was getting ready to pop into my adult portion of my journey. And I went in and it was at my Saturn return, day on. And I went through the door and I walked through the doorway, the threshold that I walk through every day. And I had an awakening. I woke up and I was like, oh, you have got to be kidding me. At that point, I had only watched one YouTube video, right? Like I just was not YouTube savvy. And I said, you cannot be serious. I'm going to be an astrologer and I'm going to do it on YouTube and I'm going to build my business digitally. And it was like, zoop, and it just came right in. And I was horrified and I just cried. And I just cried because I was like, I don't know how to do any of that. I mean, what am I doing here? And what was great about it is that first I spent a week just crying about it because I was like, because I knew it was true. I didn't know it was true, but I was so afraid and I was so doubtful. And I was like, I cannot do this. What are you talking about? And so for a week, I didn't do anything with it. And every day that I didn't take a little bit of action, it hurt. Like I genuinely hurt. My heart hurt. My being hurt. Almost like Saturn was like, don't do that. Don't do that. Just walk with me. I know you don't know, and I'll show you, but walk. And so then I started walking just a little bit at a time. And that was really it. I was like, okay, I have no idea, but this is going to be the thing. And how exactly every step was going to go, I didn't have any idea. But I did know I was like, okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be, mostly because when I started working on stuff, Saturn didn't hurt so much.
Hmm. Hmm. So I must confess that when I found you, I went to your like early videos. I'm that kind of person. Come on, we're talking
Yeah, yeah.
backstage yet. But I saw Stormy, in like her bedroom. I think it was a bedroom, and you just put
Yeah,
like your, I don't know, a camera or a phone or something, and you started talking. And you have
yeah.
some brilliant videos, like from those times, is that's how you call it. So in that process, how do you prepare yourself? Do you start getting like leads for readings? Like how was the process of like, okay, I'm gonna build a channel, God knows, God bless me. How like were those early years? What were the challenges you faced, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, well, the first thing that I did was I had to build it. I had to figure out what was what. And I love that about myself is that I also have Uranus at the IC. So I have a little bit of like FU. That's a part of my personality where I'm like, whatever, F it, I'll figure it out. Right. And so with that, and then all of this curiosity, I was like, okay, if this is a thing, I've got to figure out where I'm at. And I do have a Capricorn South Node. So I like to build things,
Uh-huh.
right? I do. I'm
Mhm.
very good at it. And so first, I kept going to watch YouTube videos to learn how to build my YouTube channel. And I would have like my little phone, and then I'd be trying to do it on my desktop. And I kept going to women who were like 30 years old. And then I didn't find a lot of them because YouTube was not super hot then. And I would like what I just kept going to women to show me how to do it. And in the end, I accidentally clicked on this little 13-year-old boy's video and he had his little squeaky changing voice. And for whatever reason, I could hear him. And I followed everything he said to do. And I set up the channel. And then I did what I did best. I just turned on that damn camera and I started talking because I was like, this I do know how to do. I know how to talk and I do know how to refine a message, right? I know how to teach. And so I just started doing that. And then I would watch another little 15-minute video. And then eventually, when I was like, okay, the channel's here now, I'm ready to move more into the professional practice space. I really thought nobody was watching YouTube. I don't know why I thought that. But in a video, I said, and if you want a free reading, just, click down below. I had set up a little website, a little link, and I thought nobody was watching. And in that year, I did 200 free readings because I thought nobody was watching. I thought nobody was going to pay attention. And let me tell you what, girl, very quickly, not only did I turn that link off because I was like, oh my God.
Right.
Right? I got so much practice back to back to back to back to back. And what is my style and how exactly, all of it, it all came together. And then I realized at the end of that, I was like, I got it. It's time to shift. And I started with a 15-15 because at that time, you got to remember, I have this stellium in Libra, right? I didn't have an amazing relationship with money. I
Uh-huh.
was lost in it a bit and we did not have partnership formed yet. And so I
Hmm.
did a 15-minute reading for $15 and I did a whole bunch of those and I stayed busy for a very long time and I made my first little living off of that, which was
Of
amazing. And
course.
then it went from there and I could refine, but I also started hanging out with more astrologers because what would happen for me, and I find it with most creative people, is that I would
Hmm.
tell my family, who are judges, lawyers, senators, police officers, what I was doing, and they would be so afraid for me. I had two children. They were like, nobody's really working online. That's not really a thing. I'm like, oh, but it's going to be. And they were afraid, and their fear would make me afraid. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, hold on, I need to go to people who are doing what I'm doing. So I found other astrologers and I would ask them questions and they would guide me a little bit. And and so it started to build like that for me. And then over time, it got more specific. And the day and the time came where my business was built brilliantly, was working, was doing, and then it hit its peak plateau. And I needed a mentor. I needed a coach. I was like, I don't need a coach in astrology. That I can continue to learn. And I'm surrounded by brilliant people. I needed a business mentor. And I got
Ah.
one and got to tighten up how to do this thing and then let it grow. And that's like exactly how the journey went. Also, insert lots of tears. I'm a crier.
That's a beautiful path. So, when you decided that you're gonna do this thing, and it started kind of like exploding, and you told your friends or family or colleagues that you were an astrologer, what was their reaction at first?
My mom was not shocked. Listen, she's my mother. Mama Grace has not been real surprised at any of these things because I've been like that since I was little. So she was not surprised by that. My brothers were like, what does that mean? But they had always called me Miss Cleo, so they would laugh at me about that. Other people were sometimes they were like, what does that mean? But you know what I never encountered that I'm grateful for is I never had anybody like put it down, at least not to my face or anything like that. But also, I have delusion and audacity at my back. And I would just tell people, no, this is what I do. And I was very firm in my delivery, right? I'm like, I don't have a question about what I do. If you have a question about what I do, I would love to engage that conversation, but I don't have a question about what I do. This is my work. And so I think that delivery as well helped people take it a bit more seriously in terms of what I was doing. And that's been the response ever since. And I know Stephen Forrest is one of my teachers and one of my friends. And I can remember him telling the story about being at a dinner party and saying what he did and getting all of this feedback and people being like, back a magazine, just very like it's not serious. And that I'm grateful. I'm like, I've not had that experience. I was at a dinner party. Everybody's talking about what they do. I said what I did, and nobody looked sideways at it at all.
So that's really cool. So, where do you think, or where in your chart, maybe, I don't know, do you think this audacity comes from? Because certainly I would love to have more audacity. I mean, every chart is different, but do you think there is like a special signature for audacity, or is just a personality trait you develop because of your family background or your mama or something like that?
That's a good question. That could be a whole talk that somebody the astrology of audacity. So whoever's going to do that talk, I can't wait to see what it is. Um, but sometimes I think in the longer I stay in the game, and honestly, the longer I stay alive, is that I think in places that are easy for me, I have Earth. I'm a Virgo rising, I have a Capricorn South node, and I'm a Taurus sun high in the sky. And
Mhm.
some of that steadiness, I do think breeds an audacity in me where I'm like, I'm just doing what I'm doing. And if it's steady, right? Like if I have some structural proof behind it, I really don't let people give me a lot of crap about stuff. I'm like, it's actually interesting you're saying that because I had a conversation with my mom. I'm 43 now, and we were having a conversation about me in my 20s. And there had been a woman who I love and I respect, and she's just got her own thing going on. And my mom was like, yeah, you never really let her speak a lot into your life. And I said, yeah, from the time that I was younger, my perspective is I love people as they are, and I support everybody's little journey. But if your life doesn't look like what I would like to experience, I don't let you speak into my life because I don't have time for it. Right. And that's not out of better than less than. It's just that you're not going in the direction I want to go. Why would I give you that space? So I think in that earthiness, that is
Mhm.
something that has served me well, where I'm like, boots on the ground. I need to have things coming into my ears that help me achieve the goal.
Amazing.
And so that audacity has carried through.
Right. So, you were mentioning that you were also in that journey of opening your channel, your YouTube channel, and you were talking to other astrologers. And then one of the ways I think I met you was because you were talking to someone else in one of your videos. Can remember, plus your dailies, but you are in all of these conferences. You are in all of these channels besides yours. How do you manage Stormie Grace, the YouTuber, the businesswoman, the doctor, the mom, the partner? What's your secret?
Oh my gosh, I wish I had a secret. Well, first, I ran it into the ground. First, I completely burned out trying to do too much, right? I just was too much, too many places.
Mhm,
I just did not do it in a way that was going to be sustainable. But that is where I was like, okay, in terms of a business in particular, I've
mhm,
got to get some structure around this. And what is it? right? Like, what is this business? How does it function? How does it flow? And once some container, some Saturn could come around it and I could pick a flow, then it became easier to manage because I realized again what I don't need to be doing, right? Like, I'm like, I
Mm.
would love to do your podcast for amazing living with whatever. But I'm like, actually, what I focus on in my business, some clarity, are these things. So I have to give myself space to really hone in on these things. And not being all over the place gave me some energy back.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
eventually that turned into needing to do the thing that my Virgo rising did not like was I needed to start to bring in team members. And that, y'all, let me tell you, was an event. I cried. And it made sense, right? And I'm grateful. My husband is an Aries. He was like, "But you're tired. Just let go." And I'm like, "I don't think that you're hearing my chief complaint, which is that I won't be doing it." And so that's what had to happen. And that was an experience in my chart as well, to let go and realize if the process was laid out, someone else could come in and do some portion of the back work that doesn't need my attention. And once that could happen, then I was freed up for some other things and could say yes to those. And that getting my business sorted in that way gave me energy back to do what I needed to do because my primary function, as far as I'm concerned, is to be a daughter, a wife, and a mother. The rest is bonus work.
Mhm, mhm.
But when I'm tired trying to live my best business life, there's not a lot of me left at the end of the day, you know? So I
Mhm,
just needed to get and allow some containers to come in to allow structures. And once those structures were in place, things could flow the way that
mhm.
they needed to. And that is the trick. That's the trick, I think. I think that's a girl, I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna find out what my secret is. I don't know.
Because I mean, I remember this video where you came back from the gym or something, and you started, giving the week forecast or something, and then I think the printer started like making some sounds. I was cracking. I think that was the video that caught me. I was like, who's this funny person? And she's so accurate. But then you seem like you had like done a million things before that recording that video. And I'm like, oh my God, because I was thinking, should I become an astrologer or not? And then, I saw you like managing all these things. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can do it. Like she's handling all of these things. She's laughing because the printer is sounding in the middle of her video. So, it shouldn't be that hard. But you're talking about bringing team members. And from previous interviews with other astrologers, I've heard, it's like, seems to be like yeah. How,
Yeah.
how was it for you? How was that process really for you? What was your biggest fear or challenge when you thought, oh, I need to bring team members?
Yeah, well, the biggest fear for me was that they're not going to do it right. They're not going to do it like I'm going to do it, right?
Mhm,
And that is, I think, what a lot of us like run into. I won't speak for anybody else, but that's what I ran into. And where I needed to have the switch was to honestly understand that Stormy Grace is a business. It is a business, so I
mhm,
needed to run it like a business. And
mm,
businesses have containers and have some businesses have teams, some businesses don't, right? But that I was like, you know, I need to run this like a business, not like a hobby. And that helped me
mhm,
make this transition and surrender into bringing in a couple of team members. And I put myself also in other containers outside of astrology that were talking more about business. And this is something that I highly recommend for people, and it's worked for me forever, is that sometimes when a new information is coming into me, even if I need it, even if I'm in pain and I'm like, I don't want to be in pain, but I'm not ready to take my claw marks out of something yet, is I start to put myself in the vicinity of the change that I need, right? So I had been, doing my doctorate degree in business and doing all of these things and helping people with their things. But when it came to me, like it's like my being could not fully hear it and accept it. So I just needed to inch in to business spaces. And then eventually I could tolerate more information and I could tolerate more suggestions. And then I could hear what they were saying. And they were saying, if this is a business, you need to get out of the center of your business. And you need to have somebody doing the things that you can let them do because you need all your energy to do what only you can. And so it started to make more sense. And I was like, I cannot. And with that Mercury high in the sky, like people have said forever, I'm just a content monster. Like I can create content like this, right? Like there was a year I created so much content that I took 3 months off and people were like, she's living her best life. I'm like, yeah, it's because I can just talk and record, right? But I was like, I need to be able to do that. If I'm doing 12 monthly horoscopes, if I'm doing weeklies, those are all the things I need to be able to do. I don't have time for filling the charts. I don't have time for these other things. And so I started to be able to bridge that gap like that and then bring in a couple of VAs. And then that turned into having a digital designer and, so it was a slow go for me, but it did happen. And I think the other thing that was really hard and made me convinced is that I had gone into my office and I was working on something. And then I came to sit down to watch a movie with my husband and I felt distance. And he's like, you're at work. You are at work. You're not here. And that level of pain and disconnection in my marriage was something that I wasn't willing to tolerate. I was like, this is not it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because I think if any of us are honest, when we don't run our businesses like businesses, it's going to bleed into our lives. It's
Yeah.
going to, and they get painful fast. And that's why now I'm like, come on, creative people, I'm going to show you how to make that thing a business.
Yeah, yeah, especially the values, the pillars, that container you were talking about. I think it's so important, and I'm so happy to be talking about astrology and business, no? Because I don't do something similar. I'm a designer, so I do the branding for the astrologers, but in
Yeah.
the end, it has like a business part in a way because I need to understand what you're going to sell or who you are in order to make your brand in a way with your natal chart. So in that regard, where you are um, building all these brands, what would you say are your main core values? One for Stormie as a human and for Stormie and her businesses. Maybe it's all the same.
Yeah, well, in a way, they are all the same because I genuinely believe in grace. I believe in grace a lot. And my spiritual teacher taught me that grace is the slack the universe cuts us for being jerks. And I'm like, listen, I feel like she didn't use that word, but it's like I feel like a lot of life needs a lot of grace because it's very easy to think I'm off track, I'm doing it wrong, I'm better than. I mean, there's a lot of the human experience that can creep up, but if there's grace and I'm practicing that across the board,
Oh.
my ability to be more effective and be of service to whatever it is that I'm doing, I think is better. And that's another very core pillar in my life across the board is service. How can I be of service here? Is this of service? Is this useful? Right? Like that governs so much of what I do because I'm not really trying to fight people or make them do things or have things. If I can be helpful, I want to be helpful. And if I'm not the right container to be helpful, then I want you to go find the right
Mm.
container. Again, this is where a little audacity comes in. I'm like, if I'm not for you, please leave. If I am for you, oh my God, get in here because I'm about to love into your life everything that I know. You know what I mean? I'm like, I want you to succeed. So that's those two things just in general are really, really core to me. And then the last thing that's personal, but it has bled into my brands, especially over this last year, is legacy. I care so much about legacy.
Mhm.
I'm like, first of all, I think from the way that we live, we move, and we have our beings, we have the opportunity to leave something for lineages of people that come before us. And people have been doing it in our family lines and our cultures forever, but we can consciously tap into legacy. What do I want to leave here? You know? And so that plays into absolutely everything that I do. But in a business sense, as I was reshaping it, I was like, okay, what are the core pillars that I'm going to work with here under Stormie Grace, especially because Legatia Academy, my business school, had come in. And it was very simple for me to see it then. I was like, yeah, I want to teach people to speak the language of astrology if that's what they want. And that will come through invocation, right? So I do weeklies, I do monthlies, I share the information, and then I also give you an opportunity to learn that if that's what you want. If you're a person who is creative and you want to build a creative business, then I help you do that. And community. Those are the three pillars of Stormie Grace. And that is how I build and share content is in those spaces because I want people to see the communities that are available to them as well, right? If you are thinking you want to be an astrologer and you like the Hellenistic tribe, I've got a resource. I've got a link that's going to take you right to your people. You don't need to waste time being over here in evolutionary. Go to your people, let them love into you, stay, be nice to us over here who, it's less hellfire and brimstone over here, in my opinion. You want to do financially, you want to do this, you want to know how to go to a conference, right? And that's the way that the community pillar presents itself. So, but that took some time. I didn't just like pop out here, well
That was
structured.
my next question was a little bit like, yeah, because you mentioned earlier that if you want to stay with me, but if you don't resonate, like you're free to go. But when we're starting as entrepreneurs or digital content creators, whatever it is, we're always
Mhm.
like, oh my God, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me. And and for you, is that something that it's in your DNA, or you have to develop this, like, okay, understand that I don't need to be liked by everyone, and
Mhm.
that if you are the right person and I'm the right person for you, it will be great, but I'm
Mhm.
not gonna beg you, kind of thing. I don't know if I'm explaining myself.
Yeah, no, no, no.
Yeah.
I think I understand. In the
Mhm.
beginning, I needed to start, and I tell people start, just start, just start, just start. Listen, I was out here. Oh my God, I had this one video where I have this like lipstick on, and I don't know, I was trying different moisturizer. I was so shiny. I was like, it just I looked like a Thanksgiving turkey. Like it was not good. But I just started, I just made the damn video. So I tell people start, just start. So you can even start to find your legs underneath you. You don't need the team. You don't need anything. Turn your phone on. Feel stupid if that's what it is for you. But God, just start. And from there, where I think that a piece of the legacy I and others get to leave now is that for creative people, whether it's astrology, it's tarot, it's you're a language teacher, you're a digital designer, we're offering the business mentorship more quickly. Whereas before, it was like you can come learn the craft of astrology. Everybody and their sister had an astrology school, right? But where's the business portion? So now more containers, I think, are being made to come and like learn a little bit about the business so you can figure out who you are and who you don't serve.
Mm,
Do you know
right.
what I mean? And even
Yeah.
in terms of free content, whether it's you want to learn the business of astrology with other astrologers, or you just want to go listen to somebody's business stuff, everybody's teaching the exact same thing. It's just the way they're going to deliver it. But I
See.
think that this is new, right? It's different. We haven't had this as loudly pronounced in terms of something that can make your astrology and you better at what you
Mm-hmm.
do. So I think in that way, and it does, some of it is it develops over time, but I do a lot of personal development work. Like, you know how they laugh at those people who go to the gym at like 5 o'clock in the morning and they're like, those are the money mindset people. That's me. Like I'm in the gym. I'm in the gym with the money mindset people because I'm like, I gotta be growing around here. It's not just about money, right? But I have a Libra stellium. I have to be in right relationship with myself and the value that I carry into the world to
Oh.
carry it into business. So it comes. And the other way I think that it comes is serving people who you don't want to serve, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like do it wrong. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Go do
Mm-hmm.
it. See how much you don't like that. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
good way to allow yourself to naturally come into the space where it's like, oh, I don't actually do this.
Right. Yeah, if you
Does
don't
that make
try,
sense?
or yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
That's
I
so
was doing
beautiful.
synastry. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Synastry, you
Yeah,
said?
back in the day, friends, I was doing synastry. I was going down that road, right? And had done synastry classes. And there was a point where beautiful Margaret Gray, who runs the Relationship Academy, I was doing some work with her, and you know what? I was sitting inside of a synastry reading with this couple, and they were lovely people, right? And the astrology was fantastic. The session was good. The session was very good. They were very happy. I was very happy with the astrology that I delivered. But I was doing their follow-up email and getting everything packaged for them. And I had some thoughts that let me know I was not a synastry teacher. I was like, I'm not a synastry astrologer. I would rather not do this every day of my life. I would rather not offer this. And that was allowed me to take synastry out of my offerings. And instead, what it opened was my community pillar. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to be offering this anymore. But oh my gosh, listen, Rachel Lang, Margaret Gray, my colleagues offer this, and I want you to have the best. So
Mm-hmm.
it made a way and it allowed me to see what I focus on. And that is a pillar I hope everybody gets on board with. Because
Mm-hmm.
by finding what you do, you make space to let other people just do what they do.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that. So, talking a little bit more about your life as an astrologer and your chart, if you want to share a little bit, what part of your own chart, let's say, has been hardest for you to accept and why?
Well, I can tell you one. And unfortunately, I mean, I've run into it several times. So I have my Mercury and Gemini in the 10th, but I have Jupiter and Scorpio in the third. And so I have a quincunx.
Ah, uh-huh.
And I had to learn to work with that because I would want to be out being very mercurial and sharing information and talking and being my little social happy self, right? But then I'm much deeper. I'm a much deeper person. Like I think quite deeply and I sit in my spirit when I'm with myself and others and I share information, right? And I would try to get them to happen at the same time. And they all my
Oh.
life, not just in astrology, but all my life, right? And they're quincunxy, right? They don't quite understand each other, but both sides are correct. And so a way that I learned to work with it in astrology is I was like, I can just let my Mercury be my Mercury. And so I share a lot of content. It's very general, unless I'm looking at your chart and we're doing something where I'm specifically talking about a chart. And I let it be wonderful and vast and general. And I just get to be a chatterbox and say things that are useful. And in that, I create the invitation for if you want something that is less general, more specific to you and deeper, to come with me in a session or in a workshop. And that's the way that I have learned to work that quincunx together.
Mm.
And it stopped me because I would hear people like, I love Molly McCord and I love Pam Gregory, right? And they're just like deep. I just feel like they're just so deep and they're just out there being deep. And I'm like, I want to be deep. And I'm like, listen, maybe I'm not meant to be deep until you come in closer with me. And that's okay. And that too, in my everyday life, I've allowed that to happen as
Mm.
well. So it's like, yeah, I'm social. And then when you want to know more, or we want to talk about something specific, we're going to go have a coffee. And then you get to know this other place. And today I'm really okay with that. But if for a while I was not, it was very painful. And I was trying to force myself to be
Mm.
in a
Right.
way that I don't seem to do well trying to deliver that.
Yeah, maybe because you mentioned I think it's in the third house. It's more like it's underneath the chart, and so we get to see that Stormy in the day to day. You are Stormy's neighbor, maybe, or something like that. That's when we probably get to see that thing. But I'm so happy you mentioned this because sometimes we believe we are all our chart. Like we need to portray into
Mhm.
the public every single little thing or planet in the chart. But if it's in the in the third or fourth house, well, maybe not. Maybe you're gonna do it differently, or your clients are gonna get that side of you in a different side of your business. And we don't need to be everything in the public eye. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. That is 100%, what I've experienced and that's okay. But before, before understanding that, of course, I made the mistake of trying to do it the way
Yeah.
I thought that I should do it. And
Hmm.
I learned, and it like hurt my energy and made me tired and made me very doubtful about it and made me think I'm not supposed to be doing this. And all of that, led me to, well, what do I do? How do I do what I do? And now today, I really embrace that piece of me. And I love that today my clients see that too. They're like, oh, I saw and you were talking about this. And what I learned in our session is that for me, this is happening here. And right, they can share and mirror back the experience to me now. And I'm like, that's what I do. Because unless I have somebody's chart,
Hmm.
it, I or anybody else online, what I realize is like we're all delivering general. It's all general, right? Like even if it's accurate, it comes out well, it's general.
Right,
And
right,
that's
yeah.
okay. But before, oh my gosh, but it's like sometimes like just the curtains lift and you're like, did anybody else know this?
Right, right. That's amazing. So, what is one fear or limiting belief you have to overcome as an astrologer or YouTuber or business person?
Just one? Yeah. I do think for me and what I see in other people are two things. One, that what I have to say matters or is valuable because it's very easy to look out and see that there's a lot of astrologers, or if you go to a conference or you're in this world, that you're surrounded by brilliance and you're surrounded by people who are like walking calendars and dates and cycle knowers, and that can be really intimidating. So it's like, well, what do I have to say to offer? So it's like realizing what you do, having clarity around what you do, that can be a very limiting space that you got to come to the other side of. And the other limiting belief is pricing. When we talk about, and this is where I fill in this gap like brilliantly now. I love that I get to do this, but it's that I'm allowed to be paid for my skill, right? And this again, most of the time when I run into this with people, it's very uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfortable conversation because there are all of these ideas, whether they come from your society, your home life, wherever they come from. These are some root level ideas of being allowed to be paid for the skill and the work that you do.
Yes.
And so this can be, I think it's not only massive in terms of an internal shift that needs to happen, but I think it's massive in terms of building a business. Because if you do not build a business that has a correct pricing structure, you will have a business that's not a business. It's going to fail. So those are two biggies. And along the way, there are several other little pebbles that you get to walk through.
What do you think people misunderstand about you as a public figure in astrology? If there's anything you think they misunderstand about you, maybe not.
Yeah, no, I think that's very, very good question. Um, I think in my experience, one of the things that people definitely misunderstand is that I run a business, right? I'm like, this is a business. I run a business. And I think that what my experience has been is people will be like, I can't believe you're charging for that, or I can't believe this. And I'm like, no, 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 I'm not personally hanging out on the internet. I don't need the validation. I'm good to go. I'm running a business. And in a business, there are boundaries in the container and there's clarity about it. And so I think often that can be a thing that people run into until they understand, because I also, when it comes to it, I'm not cocky about it. Like, I don't like that. I don't think that is necessary, but I am clear with people. I'm like, no, if you are not showing up for your sessions, I have policies in place for that. And here's our rules for engagement. When people come and they want to work with me, I say, before you're going to book with me, check out my policies pages and make sure that those rules of engagement are good for you. And if they are not, I'm not the right person. And that's okay too, right?
That's
And so I think that sometimes people can get that misconception. And the other thing is that sometimes I think that people think that I'm just going to be like all serious all the time, right? And I'm here to like give predictions that will change the hearts and minds of the entire planet. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm not. I'm here to teach people
Ah.
to speak the language of astrology. I'm here to be accurate in my astrological technique, right? I'm here to connect you to community, and I'm here to help you build your own business if that's something that you want to do, because that's what my business does,
Mhm, mhm.
you know? So it's like those are the things that I tend to run into with people.
Wow, this is so I think yeah, anyone who's thinking on building an astrology business or any type of business in the digital kind of like world should listen to this conversation, but that's just my opinion. But lastly, what advice would you give to your younger self at the moment you first decided to study astrology and like become an astrologer?
I think just, I don't know if I would give myself advice per se, because I did need to do everything I did to learn to build the skills around it. But I would just tell me it's going to be fine. It's going to be so much more wild than you think. Like, it's going to be good. Just hang out. It's going to be good. I think that that's what I would say to my younger self, because the rest, I don't know, I just wouldn't change it. I needed every bit of it.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with us. Storm, it has been such a pleasure this hour with you, sharing, your personal story as an astrologer, as a person, human, as a business person as well. Tell us, what are you up to this second half of 2025? What are you teaching? Are you still doing readings? What are you up to?
Yeah, D, all of the above. I am still teaching, and we're continuing to build GAFA, which is my astrology school. It's the Grace Astrological Fluency Academy. And we focus again on
Ah,
helping you speak, read, and write the language of astrology with the emphasis on speaking, because I talk a lot. And so we are continuing to build that school, but we actually took a step back in our building to realign with ESAR and with NCGR, because we want
oh,
each of our courses to make it so that by the time you get to the end, not only can you get certified in the method of astrofluency, but you can also go and test to be certified as an astrologer to show and demonstrate that you have the skills of the technique of astrology. So
oh,
we're working with Astrobal right now from ESAR to get every single course in alignment with being able to take that test. So that is an undergoing in a process. And currently, I am seeing clients for sure. I'm seeing less clients and really focusing on giving a lot of quality to my current clients, but people can book. And we're getting ready for 2026. Every year, I work with a team of astrologers, and we all break down the year based on our particular specialty. So this year, I'm getting to work with Christine Skinner, who is fantastic in financial astrology. So she's going to be walking every sign through the financial aspects
wow.
for the year, right? I know Kira Sutherland's coming in with medical, Tiffany Harlett comes in with spiritual development, Colin Bedell is coming with relationships this year, and Helena Woods jumped on with us this year, and she's
Ah,
going to handle
Elena.
travel. So we are busy putting the 2026 together, and those will be coming out just in October.
Mhm.
And then we're always like a year ahead in what's going on. And so we'll be doing that, and I'll be finalizing my book that's coming out in 2026 as well with Llewellyn Publishing. So
Uh-huh.
it's a
Can I
couple
ask
things are going on.
what's your book about?
Absolutely. It's called the Big Book of Planetary Aspects. And so I spent 2 years going through every single natal combination in a chart and giving you a sentence and a breakdown, not based on Chat GPT, based on real client experience, how you can start to speak it. The point is to start speaking the aspect. And then I went all through the transit to natal aspects as well. So it is a big old book
Like
to
an
pull
aspect Bible, maybe.
it is the aspect Bible for sure. And I just love it so much because I'm like, this was sitting down and pouring in what I know about these aspects. It's easy to go to Chat GPT today. We're in the digital world, but I'm like, that's not going to give you the substance and the nuance, and it's not going to get you to speak. I want you to
Right.
speak. So that is what is happening. It sounds like it is a lot, and it is, but there are teams and people in place to help deliver the astrology so people are getting a good astrological experience.
That's pretty cool. So I'm gonna leave Stormie's details below in the description of the video if you wanna check out her website or obviously her social media, her academy. Everything will be in the description below if you want to explore more about Stormie's upcoming plans and upcoming programs. And Stormie, once again, thank you so much for being here. I truly hope to have you back. I mean, there's like a good 20 questions waiting for you for the next time. But, I don't want to take much of your time. I appreciate your energy and, thank you for being here again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for watching and see you in the next episode.